morning. Welcome back to the channel on this magnificent summer's morning here in the Trossachs and in the Southern Highlands of Scotland. Yesterday, my wife Gina and I decided we'd do something that we've never actually done before. We thought that we'd, just do all of a sudden. She said, let's go in the camper. And I said, well, when? She said, now. And I said, all right, where do you want to go? She said, I don't really care. So I checked my diary, there was nothing outstanding, so yeah, why not? We've never done that. Normally we go away and I have a plan, a pretty detailed plan. Areas we're going to stay at, campsites booked, and then we go off and we kind of follow that plan. But this time there's no plan. We're going to follow our nose, we'll set off and see where we end up. And like yesterday we left Newtonmore, where we live in the Scottish Highlands, and we decided we'd head south for a change because the Scottish Highlands get very busy at this time of the year. I mean, horribly busy, and the midges are out and that doesn't help. So we thought we'd head south. So the Trossachs is very much on our way south, and we stopped here at a place called Stronachlachar at the end of Loch Katrine, which is one of our favourite airs. It's a beautiful spot. It's old Clan MacGregor land where Rob Roy once roamed. Did his cattle reaving and all the other stuff, all the other folk tales that are attached to him. It's a beautiful area. And from here we're going to head south again. And I'm not 100% sure where we'll end up tonight, but well, we'll just go along and see. So listen, I hope you can join us as we take this kind of this journey into the unknown. Who knows where we'll end up? We might find some great places. We might not. We might have some adventures along the way. We might not. Who knows? But it's really just nice to get away. And when you're old like we are and retired, it's good to have that time to be able to do things like this. So we're looking forward to it. So as I say, I hope you can come along and join us. You've been more than welcome. One of the things we like about Stronachlachar is the wee cafe that's by the pier. Unfortunately it doesn't open for another 10 minutes or so, so we're sitting here in the sun and the smell of bacon is driving us nuts. The building behind me here and the destination of our wee walk this morning is Royal Cottage here on the banks of Loch Katrine. And it's called Royal Cottage because the Queen Victoria was once supposed to spend the night here when she was officially opening the kind of waterworks between Loch Katrine and Glasgow. It was one of the biggest projects of its kind ever. And it was really all about transferring water from this big freshwater loch to the city of Glasgow to supply water for the good citizens of that great city. And she came here, and they're supposed to have the opening ceremony here, and then she would spend the night here. And they brought in a cannon to fire a 21-gun salute. And apparently after the first bang, all the windows caved in. All the windows were smashed by the sheer force of this cannon, the sound of it. So that to find somewhere hastily where she could go and bed down for the night. And of course that project taking water from here to Glasgow was enormous. I don't know how, it's 20 miles or so, 20 odd miles. Through a whole series of sluices and pipes and viaducts and goodness knows what else. And even today, people in Glasgow still drink Loch Katrine water, although I'm sure it's been through a lot more processes and things nowadays. But it really was a fantastic project in its day, and as I say, as big a water project as probably anywhere in the world. Right, my dear, where will we go today? It's a nice day, the sun's shining, it's warm. The Lake District?
Yeah.
Yeah? Should we go there?
Yeah.
Let's go to a part of the Lake District that's not busy. An old friend of mine, a video producer of mine, Eric Robson, was chairman of the Cumbrian Tourist Board for a while, and he always said to me, yeah, the Lake District gets really, really busy, especially in summer. But there's always places you can go where it's not busy. So I think we'll maybe go and see if we can find one of those places today.
We will.
Will we? And well, fingers crossed. The weather's lovely, so let's. It's always nice to go to the Lake District anyway. Okay, let's go. Past a sign for a place called Bothell, so one more letter and it could be a brothel, a place where you make soup. There's more room than you think. Breathe in. Breathe in now, that's it. Okay, you can breathe out now. I suppose, like many people, my experiences of the Lake District has been, well, largely in places like Ambleside and Keswick and Windermere, and certainly those places near the big hills. So it's quite interesting to come and explore some of these more outlying towns like Cockermouth, and later on today Ravenglass. Well, Cockermouth was an interesting old town, a lovely old market town. I quite liked the broad main street, tree fringed, and lots of old shops. It's nice, and also lots of little narrow winding streets too. And yeah, it was nice. Never been there before, so it was really worthwhile stopping there, having a nice coffee and having a wander around. It's good to become acquainted with these more kind of less mountain orientated Lake District towns. So anyway, we're back in the van, done a bit of shopping, and we're heading now to our campsite at I've forgotten where we're going. This is amazing. This is all stuff that this chap in this house has collected from the local beaches. Look at all the little shoes, a box full of syringes, pens, I don't know what that is, perfumes or something. Lots of plastic, lots and lots and lots of plastic.
What are these? White grapes.
Yeah, old lighters.
Oh, so yeah.
Look at that, old lighters.
Nice colours.
Lovely, it makes a very colourful display. Look at all the little shoes. Plenty of boys, of course, plastic boys. All sorts of stuff. I think this following your nose business has got a lot going for it. We decided we'd like to come to Ravenglass. It's just a place we've heard named so many times, and didn't know really anything about it. So we stopped in Cockermouth on the way here, and we kind of assumed that Ravenglass would be much the same. It isn't. It's absolutely tiny, but not without charm, I have to say. And we've come down onto the beach. The tide is well out, and I mean like well out, and it's just a huge great area with a bit of a river running through it and lots of sand. And Ravenglass itself is quite small, but it is of course famous for the train, the single gauge railway that runs from Ravenglass up to Estill and back down again. I'm no great train buff, I must admit. I don't see any great attraction in travelling all this way and spending about 50 quid for both of us to go up and down in a train a few miles, so we probably won't bother. But I think that's the main sort of tourist attraction in Ravenglass. That and the Roman baths. This was once a Roman port, and there are the remains of some Roman baths here, so we'll go and have a wee look at that at some point. But we're just enjoying the peace and quiet, we're enjoying the kind of solitude of the place, and compared to most Lake District villages, this place is very, very quiet, and this part of me really likes that. Well, we stayed at Ravenglass for a couple of nights. There's not, as I've said, there's not an awful lot in the village, but it's very pleasant. It's very rustic, and it's very kind of chilled out there. Great pub there, good food, good beer. So yeah, it was nice. On our second day we travelled down to Ulverston, where some good friends of ours live, and we spent some time with them. We had dinner with them before driving back up yesterday night, and today we've come across the Lake District, knowing that you know, places like Keswick and Ambleside and whatnot would be very, very busy. And indeed we stopped in Keswick to do a little bit of shopping, and it was just absolutely mobbed. And I put the question on Twitter or X, saying, is there an unwritten rule that says you have to have at least 2 dogs before you can go into the town centre of Keswick? I've never seen so many dogs in my life. I've never seen so many dogs being dragged around the town centre in temperatures of 25, 26 degrees, which to me, you know, I know we're a nation of dog lovers, but to me that's just cruelty. A lot of the dogs look to be quite distressed. And I don't know what it is with people that they kind of don't think of the dogs. Anyway, that is by the by. We stayed there. We couldn't stay in any campsite in Keswick because they're all sort of full for the summer. So we come to this place called Near How, which is very close to Penrith, kind of between Penrith and Mungrisdale, and we'll just look across the valley here to Blencathra, and we look at, you know, right up the valley towards Keswick and Robinson and those Buttermere peaks behind, and it's a fantastic spot. It's an air. It's quite high up in the hillside above Mungrisdale, and it's £25 a night. And that's kind of for everything except electric hookup. So I think that's, you know, for the Lake District, that's pretty reasonable. And we've booked in here. To be honest with you, I'm not terribly sure what we're going to do. It's getting pretty hot now. Last night was really hot during the night, and we had to sleep with the campervan doors wide open, just hoping there'd be a wee breath of the air coming in. It was really hot and stuffy. And tonight looks as though it could well be the same. The temperatures are rising. Tomorrow they're forecasting 26, 27 degrees here, towards the weekend going up towards 30. And I'm not sure we want to be in that sort of temperature. Certainly we're at an age now where walking for any distance in that sort of temperature is quite hard going. So I suspect we might not bother. And from here, what I'm kind of planning, you know, and I know this trip is not about planning, but you've got to do a certain amount of thinking in advance where you go tomorrow and the next day. And what I'm thinking of doing is going north from here back into Scotland, across Dumfries and Galloway. And we'll have a couple of nights, you know, somewhere in Dumfries and Galloway, and heading up to Ardrossan and getting the Calmac ferry over to the Isle of Arran for a couple of nights. And from the Isle of Arran, we'll, from Lochranza at the north of Arran, I think we might head across to the Mull of Galloway and have a few days in that area. It's an area that I'm very, very fond of. And it's looking, the weather's looking good over there, but not quite as hot as it is, you know, in the middle of England and in the south of England. And we had originally hoped to, you know, maybe go down as far as South Wales, maybe across to the east coast to the Fens or whatever, but it's looking as though it's going to be very, very hot over there. So I'm thinking we might go back to bonny, cooler Scotland. But again, you know, this trip is about, you know, just making it up as we go along and seeing what happens. And we might wake up tomorrow morning and decide, you know, we'll go further south. But for the moment, it looks as though we're going to go back to Scotland. So there you have it. That's what we're doing. We're going to have a quiet night here in this super air. It really is. I'll put all the details of this air down below. It's absolutely fantastic. Really nice. You know, there's toilet facilities. Not one toilet. Not a lot. A toilet and shower, washing facilities. You can take on water, dump waste, so it's fantastic. And there's also alpacas, apparently. I can't see them, they're down there a little bit in the shade, I think. But if we see some alpacas, we'll get some shots. I know a lot of youngsters, a lot of the kids like to see alpacas. So that's it. I'm going off for a glass of wine, sit in the sun, and with a bit of luck, we might get a nice sunset over Blencathra tonight. We left you just as we were saying goodbye to that nice air high above Mongraisdale in the Lake District. And we drove north. We decided to drive north because going south further into England was going to get hotter and hotter, and they were forecasting temperatures of over 30 degrees, and we didn't really fancy that. We were heading for Kirkcudbright, and we arrived in Kirkcudbright, but all the we couldn't find anywhere to stay the night. The air there was completely full. And well, we just drove on. To be honest, it was a hot day, and in the camper van with the air conditioning working was actually quite pleasant. So we kind of drove on, and we've come round here to just south of Wigtown to Wigtown Harbour, which is just a fantastic spot. The farmer lets people stay here in the car park and in the field adjacent to the harbour, so it's absolutely perfect. And we had a delightful afternoon and evening last night, just sitting in the sun and with a bit of a breeze coming off the river Bladnoch here. And it was very, very pleasant. So we're here today, and there's a market on in Wigtown, so we might pop up to there and have a wee browse around the market, and then have a wee look around the area, and stay here again tonight. So that's where we're at. So yeah, let's go and see what Wigtown has to offer. Quite close to where we're parked for the night, there is a ornithological hide, a birdwatcher's hide. I think it belongs to the RSPB, to be honest. But it's quite nice to wander along here, and if you've got binoculars with you, just to sit and have a look and see what there is. Not very much in the way of birds, to be perfectly honest. There's a couple of oyster catchers, a couple of sparrows. I haven't seen much. There's a lot of sheep. It is very hot today, though. I mean, it's getting on for 30 degrees, so it's maybe a bit hot for the birds. Who knows? But yeah, it's quite nice looking out on the Merse here. Quite nice. I mean, this part of the town has quite an interesting story attached to it. Apparently, two women, an older woman and a younger woman, were refused to recognise King James VII of Scotland as the proper head of the church in Scotland, and they were tried for that. They were taken to court and tried, and they were found guilty, and they were sentenced, believe it or not, to be tied to a stake and drowned by the tide. Quite extraordinary. And they were taken down here and they were tied to the stake, and the tide came in and they both drowned. But it just makes me kind of wonder if that would have happened if it had been two blokes, rather than two women. And I kind of suspect not. Oh, there's a bit of activity over there. What am I seeing? Oh, some geese. Yeah, some geese at the water's edge. Good. Well, we've left Wigtown Harbour, had a couple of nights there, and it was a really refreshing break. It was beautiful, despite the intense heat, up to almost 30 degrees. It feels slightly cooler this morning. The van was suggesting it was 25 degrees, and it's still morning. But we've left Wigtown now, and we've stopped on our way to the Mull of Galloway. We've stopped to have a wee walk down to the beach and Ninian's cave. Ninian was quite a prominent figure in this part of Scotland, and there's a cave down here where it said he either lived or he used it. A lot of these early Christian missionaries were on the move all the time, setting up churches and moving on, but it seemed that St Ninian spent quite a lot of time in this area, so it is possible that he lived in this cave for a while, but it doesn't really matter. It takes us down to the seaside, if you like, where there's I'm hoping there'll be some nice cool breezes coming off the sea. Coming out of the cool of the woods, and it immediately feels really hot, but the good point is we can see the sea ahead of us down the track here, so hopefully there'll be a bit of a breeze coming off the sea, and that'll keep us cool. I can't believe we're complaining about the heat here in Scotland. Unheard of. We travelled on from Wigtown Harbour this morning and came round the coastline, which was a beautiful drive. Went through Stranraer, did a bit of shopping, and then came down the Mull of Galloway, along the Rins of Galloway. And we stopped overnight at a little ear just as the Mull of Galloway narrows before it broadens out again to where the lighthouse is. And it means we're only a few hundred yards from the most southerly part of Scotland, so that's nice. The air we're staying in tonight is been there for a long time. It's part of a farm. The farmer comes down in the evening in his little buggy and collects a grand total of £2.50 per person for the privilege of staying there, so it can't be bad. It's a nice spot, not much in the way of facilities. In fact, there's nothing in the way of facilities at all, but you do have seals in the bay, you do have oyster catchers and gulls, herons, skylark. That's what I've heard so far, and yeah, from that perspective, it's a lovely spot, and we're parked up right next to the sea, so I just hope there's not too high a tide tonight. It's a lovely spot, and this is a nice neck of the woods, and we're just taking a walk along to the lighthouse, the most southerly lighthouse in Scotland. There we are, the Mull of Galloway lighthouse, built by one Robert Stevenson, the grandfather of Robert Louis Stevenson, the novelist. As you can imagine, the seas get very rough here as the waters of the Solway Firth clash with the Irish Sea, especially when the tides are changing. And it's beginning to look quite rough just at the moment. I once made a television programme that started at this point. It was part of a little series I did for BBC Scotland about travels with a campervan. A series called Roads Less Travelled. On this particular one we started here and we travelled up the west coast to Woburn, taking some of the less travelled roads and meeting some of the interesting people on the way. It was a great little series, great fun to do. And I suppose in a sense that's what I'm doing now on these YouTube videos, just getting out and about in some of the less travelled areas of Scotland. But this is a special point here, right at the very south of Scotland, and looking across at the hills of the Isle of Man, and then there's a sort of vast expanse of the Solway Firth, and then the hills of Dumfries and Galloway away to my left. It's very impressive. I think there's a change in the weather coming. We've had temperatures 27, 28 degrees over the past 2 or 3 days, and I suspect by the way the clouds building up that we might get a bit of rain tonight and some rain tomorrow and lower temperatures, but hey, that's the way of it. Everybody was complaining about the heat, now they might complain about the rain. That's what we're like in the UK, isn't it? We're never happy. We decided to stop for the night at the Culzean Castle Camping and Caravanning Club campsite. We needed to shower and dump some waste, and as it happened we got a lovely spot overlooking the Tatterfields and the distant mountains of Arran across the Firth of Clyde. Now, Gina had never visited Culzean Castle, which was designed by Robert Adam in the late 18th century. The American President Eisenhower once had an apartment here, but the estate was originally the playground of one David Kennedy, the 10th Earl of Cassilis, someone I think who was keen to impress with his wealth and status. The grounds are beautiful, and the whole estate is today in the hands of the National Trust for Scotland. Well, we had a quiet night here at Culzean Castle, but we're waking up in the morning and it's pouring. The weather's changed and we're kind of back to Scottish normal weather. So we've taken the decision to, you know, just as we've been doing, follow our nose, see what happens, and we've decided to follow our noses home, because the forecast at home in the Scottish Highlands where we live is much nicer than it is down here. So there's no point in hanging about in the rain. We'll go home, we'll live in a nice place and we'll enjoy that. And then when the weather improves elsewhere, we'll take off again in, you know, a couple of weeks or so. So that's going to bring this this video to an end. Thanks for being with us. If you've enjoyed this video, if you've got anything out of it, please think about subscribing to the channel, and please hit that little like button, because it does make a big difference. So we're going to you know, work our way north through the rain showers and hopefully find a bit more sunshine at home. So until the next time, see you then. Bye bye.